Hello, 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 all my Book Mecca family. Welcome, welcome to the Breakthrough series. This is Shaylin Scott, and I am the founder of Book Mecca, an online Black bookstore and literary resource for all things Black lit. Every month, I bring on an author who is breaking barriers and breaking grounds when it comes to the literary world and also within their lives. So it'll give you a glimpse into not only their latest work, but also a little bit more about the author and all things. See what else we can get into in an hour. So, without further ado, we have a very special guest this month. We have Trey Anthony, and this is her book, Black Girl in Love with Herself, a guide to self love, healing, and creating the life you truly deserve. So, Trey Anthony is an award winning writer, motivational speaker, relationship life coach. She's the first Black woman in Canada to have a television series on a primetime network. Her work included plays, The Kink in My Hair, and How Black Mothers Say I Love You. Her life purpose is to empower women to live their best lives. And her new book, Black Girl in Love with Herself, published by Hay House, is available now. So get your books. I have mine with all my notes. So make sure you get your book. And she divides her time between Atlanta and Toronto. She is an adoption advocate and a proud mama bear to her son, Kai. In her spare time, she enjoys laughing at herself and all her antics and eating cupcakes, one of my favorites too. So, without further ado, welcome, welcome, Trey.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. How you doing?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you for being here today. It is a pleasure to have you on our
Thank
series
you.
today.
Thank you
So
very much.
hopefully, we have all of our lovely viewers who will be chiming in, and make sure all of you guys who are on drop your questions in the comments, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Facebook. All your questions and comments can be listed here, and we can try and get as much as we can in an hour.
As much as we can. Yes.
Yes, as much as we can get in. So, as I showed you earlier, I love your book.
Thank you. I'm just really overwhelmed by the response that Black women and women all over are really having to this book. So I'm really excited about it. Yeah.
I, when I first saw it, I was intrigued by the cover. I was thinking she looks so happy and just in love. And then I was like, she looks like she is ready to take over the world. I don't know where she's going, but I wanted to go. And so I was happy to read it.
Yes, yes, yes. That's what happens when you start practicing radical self-love, right? You start to glow from within and also your outside appearance. And that's what I've been hearing from people often now is like, oh my God, you look so much better. You look great.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm
I
just like,
see
yeah,
it.
I'm at that place. Yeah, I'm really at that place, taking care of myself and making sure that my self-care comes first. It's a priority now. Yeah.
I love, especially now. I was attending a webinar not too long ago. It was Nikki Giovanni and Angela Davis, and they were talking about
Yes,
radical self love.
yes, yes,
And I sat there and they had like a checklist of things to do. I'm
yeah.
thinking, I don't do enough for myself. I should.
Yes, 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 yes,
It
yes.
was just a reminder. And then when I got your book, it was definitely a reminder. See all my little corners here. These are the
I
ones
love
I'm
that.
doing
Yes. I
for
love when people take
myself.
notes and highlights and people send me paragraphs from the book. And, I've just been loving it. Like women are really, I think too, because it's such an action oriented book. And
Right.
there's, as you know, the worksheets on after each chapter. And so it actually gives you everything that you need to do to be asking yourself these questions and also giving you guidance of how to, really incorporate self-love and self-care into your
Mhm.
daily routine.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how long did it take you to write this book? Was it a because it seems like there was a journey because you went through your life and a lot of things that you
Yeah,
were going through personally, which is another reason why I enjoyed it. It wasn't you should work on this, you should do this. It was I've gone through this.
yeah, for sure. Shaylon, for me, when I first got the book deal from Hay House, the book was supposed to be about me giving advice to women on
Mhm.
how to manifest a wonderful, great love in their lives and how to find a great partner, husband, whomever, in their lives. And this is the checklist, right? And at that point in time, I had a very, very public relationship with my partner, and I thought I was in a very healthy relationship. And so I thought that, of course, I could give great relationship advice because here I am in a nearly 4-year relationship and feeling really great about it. And then 5 months before my book was due to the publisher, I got a text from my partner saying, I no longer want to do this. And
Oh,
I was like,
in a text.
yeah, girl. Yeah, girl. In a text. Yeah.
Uh,
I wasn't prepared for that part either.
yes.
Right.
I'm just thinking, I think I probably would have blacked out when I got the text. Just,
Yeah.
just
Yeah. I wasn't prepared. Nothing could prepare you for that. And I was devastated. But I've also, my whole career has always been about walking in authenticity and being
Mhm.
really true to myself. And so I called up the publisher and I said, I can't write this book. I said, there's no way I can be giving relationship advice to women when I've missed the tsunami that has been hitting my whole
Mm.
life, right? And I ignored so many red flags. So I said, I can't do this. And so my publisher was like, well, then what can you write? And we've already given you the advancement, and I think you spent it. Right?
Yeah. Oh,
What you gonna do, girl? What you gonna do? And so that is when I said to them, and also myself, I said, the book I can write, because I was literally on the bathroom floor. I
mm,
said, I can write the book about how do you get up from the bathroom floor and what do you do when you
yeah.
have given away the responsibility to someone else to love you. And when they leave, you no longer feel lovable and you don't know how you got to this place. And I said,
Ooh,
I want to talk to every single woman who has ignored red flags just
ooh,
because they wanted to see hashtag couple goals underneath
goals.
the picture on Instagram,
Yes.
right? And I was that person. And I really had to really dig deep. And that's what you see in the book, where it's part memoir, part self help,
Hmm.
to kind of say, how did I get here? Because I really felt like my life had blown up in my face. And I felt humiliated. I felt embarrassed. I felt stupid.
Mm,
It was all of these things. And it was really easy for me to place all of the blame on my
yeah.
ex partner. But I also recognized I played a radical role in this. And I
Wow.
needed to examine why I decided to play chess with a game that I knew I was going to lose at some point. Right?
Wow.
So that's how it all came about. Yeah.
That is such bravery because you weren't only just thinking of others and how they can make that choice and make the right decisions when it comes to starting over or just
Mhm.
moving past things, but you were going through it at the same time and you were vulnerable enough to share that. Like the ones who were in your life, how did they feel about you sharing some of those private moments? Because it looked like I was looking through your window when I was reading the book. Just
For me, when I decided to do this new reinvention of Black Girl in Love, to do another book, totally like a whole,
Mhm.
I was like, I can only be true to myself. I can only write the truth of how I see it, right?
Mm,
And I said, I need to be vulnerable because I was cracked wide open. And so at this point in time, I felt like there was nothing that I could lose at this point. When they say, when you think that you are, you've hit rock bottom, I
yeah.
realized my rock bottom had, stairs going down to the basement, and then the basement collapsed on me and I
Oh
was
God.
in the house. Right? This is how I felt, right?
Below the floor. Oh
On the
goodness.
floor. Because for those of you who haven't read the book, I talk about in the book, I also had a 2-week-old baby that I had adopted. I was a brand new mom. I was mothering now for the first time, also in a pandemic. I had 14 days to move out of the house that I had shared with my partner. And because of the pandemic, all of my talks, all of my bookings, all of my theater gigs, everything was being canceled. So, of course, I was worried about things financially as well. So I just was just like, what else is there to do but write the damn truth?
Mm,
I'm very fortunate when I did finish the book because, there's a lot of examination in the book about, my mother, my
yeah.
grandmother, the dynamics within my own family, my sister, my brother, my father. I really wanted to be respectful to them because they played such major roles in this book. So I made sure that I sent it to all of them, the first draft,
Oh,
before
that's good.
the publisher. And I was really stunned that not one person in my family said to change anything. Not one person. And even my mother, when she read it, my mother said, it made me so sad that I didn't know you were going through all of this. And she
Mm,
said, it just made me sad in the fact that too, that I felt like I was really hard on you and I didn't realize that, you
yeah.
know. So I was really happy. And my father, he was just like, good job, good job. It's a good book. It's a good book.
Oh, that's what. See,
And
that
so
makes me feel good.
I was very fortunate that everybody just gave it its blessing. And I think it's because when you walk in truth, people recognize it. And when you walk in a level of vulnerability, it also gives permission to other people to be vulnerable as well.
Yeah.
Also look at their own selves. Even when my mom read it, she was like, well, maybe I need to go to therapy too. You're talking about therapy. I should go to therapy. And I
There
was
you
like,
go. There
yeah.
you go, Mom.
It was really interesting to see how just seeing these words on paper, how it started another dialogue within my own family and another level of healing. So it wasn't just for myself, it wasn't just for
Mhm.
readers, it also was happening within my own family. And a lot of women who have been reading the book have been saying to me, they're having conversations with their mothers,
Yes.
their sisters that they've never had before, or buying the book for them and saying, hey, you need to
Hmm.
read this, right? And we got to discuss
Right.
this. Yeah.
It
Mhm.
definitely should be on somebody's gift list.
Yes,
Gift
girl.
the
Yes.
book.
Yes. I even got an email yesterday from a woman who said she was working at a hotel and she was having such a hard time. And a woman walked in, like a guest, and she said she was trying to hide her tears. She was crying. And she said to the woman, I'm just having a hard time. I'm really sorry. And she said the next day, the woman came downstairs and just handed her my book and said, you should read this. And she said, it just
Wow.
changed my life. She said, she goes, I felt like it was a gift from God. She goes, that's the only way to describe it. And she goes, I had to reach out to you and tell you that I was not expecting to get this book. I was not buying the book. I knew nothing about this book. And this guest in the hotel just said, here you go. Sis, you need to read this.
See?
Yeah.
See? I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I shared this, the interview and all about your book to everyone I could possibly find, every woman I could find, even uh, teenage girls, those who are, because you talk about everything from imposter syndrome to that strong Black woman trope to picking your friends, picking your mates, the types of relationships. I mean, there's so much in the book that anyone can kind of glean something of value and of importance to them that they can use in their life. One
Yeah.
thing I will say I love was how you talk through the book almost like you were talking to me, like, "Hey, sis, get it together, sis, wake up. You're
Yeah.
making the wrong choices." Like,
Yeah. Yes.
I felt the love throughout the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah. And it was important for me to really, like a lot of people have said, I just felt like you were my best friend or you were my girlfriend or
Yes.
like you got me. And I think as Black women, we're always looking for that kind of like connection with each other, you
Mhm.
know? And so for me, when I wrote the book, it was funny. Even when I sent it to the editor, and sometimes I would try to, to be a bit more formal. And she was like, Trey, no, the reason why people are going to love it, because you just you write exactly how you talk.
Yeah.
That's why people connect with you. So she was like, don't change it up. Don't change it up. We want you. And so I was like, oh, okay. Because, at some point I was like, well, I'm writing the book. I should be a bit more formal.
No.
And then I just was like, nah, go just be me. And that's how it came across. Like and even people who've listened to the Audible book, they
Hmm.
said they just
Are you
felt like
reading it?
I'm reading the Audible book.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
And there's a bonus interview on the Audible book with my mother and my sister, which is really amazing. Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
will check that out. I will definitely check that out.
Yeah.
Well, for all of you who were popping in and people who may pop in, Some of the topics that she covers in her book, which is Black Girl in Love with Herself,
Mhm.
is setting clear and healthy boundaries, even with the people who raised you,
Yeah.
which is huge in the Black community. Your
Yeah.
mom, I always hear you can't pick your mama, you can't pick your dad. Like, is that a reason to keep doing? I feel like that's wrong, but setting those boundaries are
Yeah.
important. Quit being the family ATM.
Mm,
That
mhm.
could have been a book by itself.
Girl, girl.
It being the family ATM, sorting out who's a real friend, who is just there for parties and gossip. I love how you broke that down. The
Thank you. Yeah. The
different types
friends.
of friends. I was looking through like, who do I have in my life? Just and
Yeah.
and the funny thing is, you know how you have seasonal people that come in and out of your life, and you can see it from afar. You can see it 2020 now. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I did
Yeah.
have some
Yes.
people like that.
Yes.
Another one, confronting microaggressions at work without missing a beat. Now, in the role that you had as uh, from starting your play, the first primetime show in Canada, from this book to your motivational speaking, I'm sure, as you mentioned in your book, the higher up you get,
Yeah.
the lighter it appears to be, or it seems to be. There are less and less of
Less.
women of color who are in places where they are making the decisions. So, how did you navigate that world?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I mentioned in the book, one of the things that was really important for me, because myself and Ngozi Paul, who was the co-creator of the show, we were the first Black women in Canada to have a TV show on a primetime network. So we
Mm,
made history, right? Like we were making history with our show, The Kink in My Hair. And there were so many, we were young Black women, and they gave us a white executive producer to quote unquote run the show. And
mhm.
this woman was just dedicated to crying like every single time.
Oh, God.
Every single time we remotely were just like, no, we don't think that's how it should work. They tears. It was just tears, right? And it wasn't too long before, the network dragged our asses into a meeting and they were like, well, what's going on? She says she feels intimidated.
Mm,
You guys are, not listening to her, and all of these kind of things, right? And for us, we recognize that not only was it our show that was on the line, but there were hundreds of people who were employed by us who were people of color. And
yeah.
we knew that if we didn't just swallow this garbage, right? And just not say anything and just agree and just be quiet and do whatever, then our show would stay on the air, right?
Mm,
And so, as I talked about in the book, but what we did, we made this pact between us. And we said, I see you and you see me, and we are going to get through this together. Because a
yeah.
lot of times, too, they do this conquer and divide with Black women, right?
Yes. Fighting against
There's
each
the good
other.
one and the bad one. And we were both like, we are in this together. And some days we would come off set crying. Some
Mm,
days things would be on set. We just kind of give each other the look to be like, girl, I see it. We see this nonsense, but it's okay. Right. And that is what I encourage women in sometimes when you're not in the place to be able to be vocal about some of the microaggressions and the foolishness that we have to deal with at work is to find other women who can be Black women, especially who you can, just vent to, who can
mhm.
just talk you down, who can say, I see you, I understand. So if it's to find those women in your company, or is it to find an outside support group of professional Black women, but you need that support.
Yeah.
You cannot handle it by yourself because it's just too much. And I think a lot of us, especially as you said, the higher up we go, usually we are the only ones there. And then if
Mm,
they're more than us, then they pit us against each other. And you also have to make sure you don't fall into that of
yeah.
the good Black girl and the other one then is the bad,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So you have to be very conscious of it because they do it in such very subtle ways that you start playing into it and you don't even recognize that what they're trying to do is doing a divide and conquer between you and your sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's oh that if you guys can't tell, there's so much in the book. I wish I could just read the book on air with all the points to it. Another good part about the book for everyone that is definitely I found useful was at the end, it's action items that you
Yeah,
can take. They're questions that kind of probe your mind. So when it came to some of the questions that you asked, were they some of the questions that you asked yourself as you were writing?
definitely. These were questions that I had either asked myself or I had asked clients who I had worked with, or I'd asked in the past, or at that very given moment as I was writing. I was like,
Mm,
okay, what happened here? Like, how did I get here?
yeah.
How am I taking care of myself? What do I need? And I also wanted to make sure that for us as Black women, all of those questions were there. The back of the book is full of resources. So we had no excuse.
Yes.
So we could just do the work, right? Like it's right there. And so I've heard like some women have said, I've read the book and then now I've gone back and I'm doing the work, or
Yes.
the workbook as I was reading the book. So it's one of those things that I really wanted to ensure that we had all of the resources available at our fingertips right away. So there's no excuse, right? Especially
Hmm.
for a lot of us who are busy Black women. I was just like,
Yes. Oh
I want
God, yes.
you had everything right there so you could be like, okay, I could do this. Yeah.
I love how you put all of the resources in there and you kind of disperse them even throughout, just things
Yes.
that make your mind think about reflecting on only the choices that you make, as well as all the different things that you've had to deal with in the past. And then at the very end, there are real resources on therapy. There's resources on finding a Black therapist, someone that looks like you, resources for everything you can think of, suicide prevention, mood disorders.
Mhm,
And you don't see that very often in the
mhm.
back of, I think I've read a lot of self-help books, and some of them are kind of a cliche, like, I
Yes.
should love myself. And so
Yes.
that
Yeah.
kind of thing, I should. But yours are, yes, you should love yourself. And these are some ways you can do it. These are
Yes.
some ways you can show that you love yourself.
Exactly. And I really wanted to make sure that women, because I think a lot of times for us as Black women, when we are trying to get resources, there's another layer for us, right?
Mhm.
Of is that person going to look like us? Is that person going to understand us culturally? Am I going to be able to even afford to access these resources? So I wanted to make sure that I gave you a list of resources that were really,
Yeah.
um, just centered around Black women. And these are organizations and these are companies that I know are just for Black women or women of color. And so that was really essential for me. And also, too, around therapy. Like, there's a whole chapter in my
Yes.
right? About therapy, about mental health, because it's one of those things that we don't talk about. And
Hmm.
we don't know how to access things like that, or we think it's a very white thing to do. And I realize that kind of thinking is really killing us. And I'm really glad now it seems that things are shifting. And I don't know if it's because of the pandemic, because so many of us are struggling with our own
Yeah.
mental. And during writing this book myself, I was struggling with my own mental health and was diagnosed with depression. And I did not even know it. Because again, like every single Black woman, you just get
Hmm.
up and you keep going no matter how you feel, no matter how
Yes.
overwhelmed you feel, no matter how shitty you feel, no matter
That
how tired,
superwoman.
you just get up and you get it
Hmm.
done. Right. So in the book, I talk about how the irony of this was that I was interviewing a Black psychiatrist and she was listing all of the signs of depression, right? To know if you have depression. And if there were 10 signs she was giving me, I had 12 out of the
Oh
10.
wow. Wow.
And as I was writing them, I was like, oh, wait, I got this. Oh my gosh, I got that. And as she said, when I was interviewing her, she said, many of the times, Black women, we don't even know we're depressed. And by
Yes.
the time we seek help, our symptoms are 3 times worse than our counterparts because we have taken so long and then we also did not recognize it. And I realized as I was writing this book, I said, I'm that Black woman she's talking
Mm.
about. And it only hit me, I swear, as I was interviewing her. I was like, wait a second. I think this sounds like I have depression. Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Well, kind of speaking about kind of holding those ideals, feelings, and not even recognizing that you had depression, that feeling that you need to take over everything. You need to be the superwoman, the black mom that can do it all. That
Mhm.
is so common, and it's kind of generational. You had mentioned that
Yes.
that strong woman figure has been passed down from your grandmother to your mother, and you
Mhm.
do things. You don't cry about it. You just make it happen,
Just make it happen.
and you
You just,
just keep going. But
mhm.
it manifests in other ways. It manifests in decisions and choices that you didn't even realize you were making the wrong ones for,
Yeah.
or having those health issues, or a
Mhm.
lot of different things. So when
Yeah.
you were going through some of these moments in your life, and you were having to reflect back on it in the book, were there some times that you wanted to, some moments that you wanted to pull out of the book because it was a little too revealing, a little
Yeah.
too open?
You know what is really funny to me, and I was talking to another author. Oh, you should definitely have her, um, Elaine Fluker, who's done
Okay,
this new book that's
write
come
it
out
down.
called Support is Sexy. And we were both talking about it as new authors because her book just came out maybe about 3 weeks ago, and my book,
Okay.
and we both were saying we did not realize, even though we wrote the book, how much of us is in the book, and then
Mm,
how that now is out there in the world, right?
yes.
And it's only after you're like, oh dear, that's a lot of information for people to have about me, but it's already there, right?
Yeah.
And so as I was writing the book, to be honest, it was so therapeutic for me. I was just like, I need to write this truth. I need to write it down. And I'm hoping it's going to heal other women. But it was only after it was published, I was like, I don't know if I wanted all that in the book. It was too late.
I tell you, you write so honestly and transparently that it makes you feel as if I know you. I
Yes,
like,
yes.
I've known you all my life. This is who. But it also reminds you of yourself and things
Mhm.
where you're questioning. It is a true reflection, a mirror of the things that Black women are going through every day. So I definitely thank you and applaud you for the great
Thank
work that you did, because I
thank you.
love it. I love
Thank
it.
you so much. I appreciate you for saying that. Thank you. And I think too, what is important is I think a lot of us have culturally, been raised of like, you don't air your dirty laundry. We don't
Hmm.
talk about this, don't let so and so know this is what she's going.
Yes.
I know
Yes.
my grandmother's big thing was like, nobody should know what is going on in my house,
Your
right?
business.
Your business, right? So I felt for me, I had to give that space for us because what happens, because we don't talk about it, we think that we're the only ones who are going through it. And especially in this highlight reel of Instagram, it looks like everybody's got their lives together, everybody's
Yeah.
doing really well. And then you're sitting there going, how come I'm not feeling good? How come I'm feeling anxious? How come I'm feeling depressed? How come I feel like I don't got it all together? How come I feel weak? Right?
Yeah.
It's because we're looking at everybody on Instagram going, they look like they got their stuff together. So what's wrong with me? And
Hmm.
for me, I wanted to kind of open that wide open and say, yes, there are days that I have it all together, but there are days that, I'm in my car driving with tears streaming down my face, and I'm stopping at McDonald's,
Ooh.
stopping at Burger King, and sometimes I go home and my house is a damn pit, like all of those things. And then there's other days that I got it together. My house is, spotless and wonderful. And especially too as a mom, that was the
Hmm.
watching all of those perfect moms on Instagram who were, sipping hot cocoa and matching pajamas with their
With the
significant
baby on the slave.
on white furniture, and my kids eating the dirty Cheerio off of the kitchen floor. And I'm like,
Yes. Oh God, yes.
it's just like I need to let women know, like it's okay. And I just say that now. Like I keep saying now as a mom, I just kind of go, if it ain't gonna kill him, he can do it.
A little dirt never hurt a baby. It's called fiber. Fiber.
Exactly. If it ain't gonna kill him, I don't care anymore. I just don't, right? Like that is just me, right?
Oh, it kind of, speaking about the therapy you mentioned too, and recognizing the signs and that it is okay. You talked a little bit about the Black church and religion, kind of that
Yes.
mantra of Pray about it. It'll
Pray
go
about
away. But I
it.
saw this one quote. I don't even know who did the quote. They said you can pray and go to therapy at the same time.
Girl,
Just
there you
yes.
there
Pray
you
on your way to therapy, pray on your way back. Do
yes,
both. It's
yes.
not one versus the
It's
other.
not one or the other. And I talk about that in the book because a lot of us, it's like, bring it to God, bring it to Jesus, bring it to the altar. And that's okay, yes. But also, you need to get professional help along with that.
Yes.
And so, I talk about that in the book about my own spiritual practice, my own connection to the church, but also knowing that there's certain times that I need professional help and an ear that puts me, on the right path. And that's so
Hmm.
right. And I think a lot of us as Black women, we need to understand that. Like, yes, you can go to the pastor. Yes, you can pray about it, but you also should get professional help.
Absolutely. And you can find a list of professional help and resources in the book if you
There
get the
you
book.
go, girl. There you go.
I was going through the resources and I found one that provided affirmations you can have on your screensaver. I mean,
Yes,
all kinds of
yes.
great things.
Because
And
I'm
even
a big believer in every resource in that book I have used or I've recommended to my clients and I've checked them out. So I know they're legit
mm,
and I know that they can change lives.
I
And
love
so
it.
for me, I wanted to really make sure like we had them available at our fingertips. And I was like, oh, there's no excuse. You ain't got no excuse.
Right. It's
Here it
right
is.
there ready for you.
It's right there ready for
Something else you put in the book I love too is each of the chapters kind of starts with a playlist, a song. Were you listening to these songs as you were writing?
Definitely, without a doubt. I music was really and is such an essential part of my life, and I think especially when you're going through a breakup, right?
Hmm.
There's certain songs that are just the soundtrack of your life, and
Oh,
for
yes. Brings
me,
you back.
right, just brings you back. And so for me, I really wanted to incorporate music into the book. And so I couldn't figure out how to do it. And then finally, when I was speaking with my editor, she was just like, why don't you do a Black girl playlist? Because you're always talking about the playlist that you're listening to when you're writing the book. And I was like, I'm going to do a Black girl playlist. Right. So
I
even
love how
that
you
is
did that.
available on Spotify. The Black Girl in Love playlist is available on Spotify as well, because it was all of the songs that I listened to that empowered me, that helped me as I was going through this crisis in my life. Yeah.
Oh, we'll be sure to share that with all you guys too. Black Girl in Love playlist on Spotify. I
Yes.
went through, I didn't even know it was on Spotify. I just went through and go, ooh, I like this song. Let me put it
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
while I'm reading this chapter.
It's on
Was
Spotify. Yes.
even the chapter that had the Mary J. Blige
Yes,
and
girl.
with oh
Yes. Because I love me some Mary, and Mary's gone through it, man.
man, who
Mary's gone through it.
sings
I
so
listen to
good
Mary.
when she's sad.
Hate it. And that's what I said in the book. I said, we know that Mary sings and writes her best stuff when she's going through it. Right?
Yes, I feel so bad that I am enjoying her pain, but I'm like, it is so good.
Yes. And I'm telling you, there was some Mary J. Blige songs that just got me through it, man. Like I was just like, okay, Mary, I feel your pain because I'm in pain too, girl.
Yes, when you said in the book, we enjoy these songs because we're her backup singers. I was like, he was talking about me. Wait a minute. Maybe I am a backup
We
singer.
are our backup singers because we love the drama. We love the drama. So that's what I realized. I was like, why am I enjoying this as much? And I was like, because I want to be a backup singer in Mary's drama and my own drama.
Yeah, and I will say her happy songs. I don't know all the words to
Yeah.
those, but those sad ones,
Oh, we know them all, right? We know them all.
every single word.
Because it's funny because so many people have said, you've gotten about like 3 or 4 Mary J. Blige songs as your chapters. And they were like, I thought you would have changed them. I was like, no, because Mary's it, man. Mary was it. And I just couldn't change it up. I said, I had to be true. That's who I was listening to through all of this was Mary J. Blige. Yeah.
Now you should definitely do when you do your motivational talks. You should have Mary have like a little co-branded thing there with Mary popping it.
That's
Ooh,
perfect.
concerts
Put it,
slash
put it out there.
motivation.
Put it out there. Put it out there.
Yes, I love it. Bring all the ladies and work on ourselves. Love
That's
it.
right, girl. That's right. I'm with you.
Oh, there's so many good gems in your book. Uh, Another good one I like too is how no is a full sentence. What
Mhm.
did you mean when you said that? I know what I think, but what did you mean when you said no is a full sentence?
That you don't have to explain it. You don't have to say to anyone why you're saying no, and you just have to just let it go. And I think for many people, myself included, I'm a people pleaser. I want everybody to like me, you
Mhm.
know, I want everybody to be happy. And it was something that I learned, and I gave the example in the book. I still haven't gotten to that place, and I've been very honest about it, where I could just say no, and that's it. I usually now say no, that's not going to work for me right
Yeah.
now, or I'm unable to honor that right now. But in the book, I gave the example of there was this really esteemed, acclaimed director working with us on the play. And I walked up to her after she was in rehearsals with us, and we were breaking for lunch. And I walked up to her and I was like, Jennifer, do you want to join us for lunch? And she said, no. And I waited, like
Ju-
thinking she was going
Just
to
no.
listen. And she said, no. And she put her binder in her bag and she just walked off. And it wasn't rude or anything. She was just like, okay. And I was like, I
She just
wanted
said no.
to I was just like, she did not follow it with any kind of explanation,
Wow.
no nothing. And that has been the example that I have used throughout my life of like, I want to be that woman. And I haven't quite gotten there yet, but I'm
Have you
better than I
practiced
yeah.
that?
I practice, but I always feel like I need to say something a little bit more after the no. So I'll be like, no, and then I'll go, no, that's not gonna work for me, unfortunately. So I say that, but I don't just say no.
I'm gonna practice that no one. I'm just walk around and go no.
No.
And walk just just see how it feels. I think the more you do it, maybe
Maybe it will get
grow
easier.
on grow
Yeah.
up for
So I
sure.
encourage readers to, practice their no, right? Because we all want to get to where Jennifer is, where you just say no and you just put your binder in your bag and you just keep it moving. You just keep it moving.
I love all the examples that you have in real life experiences of working on yourself and acknowledging the things that, okay, I probably shouldn't have did that, or things that I could have done better, or changes you need to make, and even kind of forgetting who you are supposed to be
Yeah.
and working on who it is that you want to be
Yes.
was all throughout the book.
Yes.
What would you say was your favorite chapter in the book?
Oh. Oh my God. That's like asking a mother who's her
I
favorite
know.
child.
It should be a baby. I
The
won't tell the
my
other baby.
grandmother will tell you
Tell
who her favorite is without a doubt.
She'll tell me. She'll tell me, and then she say, "Don't tell the other one." Then she do the same to the other child. That's how they do you.
I think my favorite chapter, let me think. God.
I know my favorite, but
I will tell you my favorite part of the book, which I will say is my favorite
okay.
part of the book, is where I talk about my grandmother and that Saturday journey that we used to go on together, and her not having her driver's license, and her and I
Man,
driving every Sunday to the prison to go visit my uncle,
riding dirty.
riding dirty. And it to me, it really was a testimony to the women that I come from, right? Of how my grandmother drove for 2 hours with me, riding shotgun, and she would go and visit her son every Sunday. And she didn't have a driver's license, right?
Mm,
And she just did that. And that's who we are as Black women, right? That we will make a way, even though there feels like there's no way, especially when it comes to our children. You know,
yes.
and we will do whatever needs to get done. And I think that was a prime example for me as a mother of what a mother's love looks like and what we will do. And just, how my grandmother, for years had no driver's license, but was driving
I see Polly said gangster.
gangster. And she was a gangster. And I feel that's who I am a lot of times when people go, like, you just act like the rules don't apply to you sometimes. I'm like, because sometimes they don't make sense. And I felt to my grandmother, she was like, this don't make no sense. I got to go see my son and I ain't got no license. So I'm just going to drive. Right.
I'm gonna
And
get
so
there.
I would go get there. And so that was my favorite part of writing the book, of writing about my gangster grandmother and who she was, right? Like she was just saucy and feisty, and, you know,
Oh,
nobody could talk to her, and it's funny, it's her birthday tomorrow. May she rest.
oh, congrats.
Yeah. But I feel to me, she really embodied how you get things done under
Mhm.
less than ideal circumstances. Yeah. So what was your favorite part?
Okay, I got a lot.
Okay, girl, I see you.
My favorite chapter was definitely the one on which one is it? Let's just say, I know we're family, but you're a hot mess. That was mine. I was like, you know what? You show. Oh, I love you, but get some therapy, please. That's what I
You're a hot mess. We're family, but we're a hot mess.
said.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
was my favorite chapter. And there's so many favorites in here. Oh God, I can't even tell you. I'd be here for another hour talking about it. But speaking about your gangster granny,
Yeah.
her showing and the example of being a strong black woman and your mother, the example of being a strong black woman, and then you going through things and you were getting things done, you being a strong black mama as well. And then you realize, hey, I need to show a little grace, show
Yeah.
a little tenderness.
Yeah.
Do you,
Yes.
is your family kind of rolling back or kind of taking off the coat of the shield and the cape, saying it's okay now that
You know,
you've
it's
been
funny.
able to do that?
Recently, I was going through something that was causing me a lot of stress, just recently, and my mother turned to me, and it was the first time I've ever heard my mother say this. She turned to me and she said, "So how are you feeling about that?" And I was like,
Me?
but I see how she's learning, right? To talk about feelings. And like that's what I talk about in the book, that as much as the strong black woman trope has caused many of us, I feel myself included, to be the success stories we are, it also has really impacted us in a negative way of not
Mhm.
being able to recognize our own trauma, of not
Yes.
being able to recognize our own exhaustion, not being able to recognize when we need support and when we need help, and sometimes to just be like, I ain't got it. I ain't got it.
Yes.
I really ain't got
Yes.
it. Today is the day I ain't got it. Right? And so
Yes.
me, I said in the book, as I said in the book, we have to create safe spaces, not only for ourselves, but for other Black women to fall apart emotionally and know that it's okay. And for me, that was something that I had to learn, that it was okay for me to fall apart. It was okay for me to cry. It was okay for me to say I'm scared. It was okay for
Mhm.
me to ask for help. And so that was really a big learning curve for me and continues to be a learning curve for me as I go through life of being able to ask for help and also accept it when it's being hard.
Yes. Oh, yes. But I say there is so much to learn from your life experiences. Now,
Mhm.
are you a life coach? Are you a career coach? A therapist? Please tell,
Oh,
because I'm
no,
pretty sure
not a
people will
therapist.
be reaching out to
Yeah,
you like,
I, yeah,
how?
yes, I'm a life coach and I work with women on how to create balance and live their best damn lives. So
Mm.
I do a very holistic approach when I work with women. So we look at your professional life. We also look at your relationship. We look at your family. We look about how do you approach things just through an emotional lens. I also look at how you take care of yourself physically. So it's a holistic whole program that
Oh,
we do to make sure that you get to the place of what is best for you,
see,
right?
that is beautiful. I know that is something special because
Yeah,
you're giving away
yeah.
gems and tips just in
Yes,
this
I'm
book
willing to pay a
alone.
lot of money to get me
Yes.
one-on-one. Yes, but I also say to women that you will see the difference right away from working with me. And I love what I do, and I've been there. And that's the thing. I've been there, I know it. And so I just say, and I'm excited about working with women, especially Black women, to get us to be the best that we can be, you know?
I'm looking through all my little notes here on the ones that I liked here. There was another little saying that I started saying to myself that everybody's not gonna like you. Everybody's you ain't ice cream.
Ice
Not
cream.
everybody's gonna love
You
you.
ain't ice
You know what? I am not ice cream.
cream. Everybody ain't gonna love you. You ain't
Not
ice
everyone will love me. That's okay. That
That is
is
okay.
okay.
Yes.
talk
Yeah.
about falling in love with yourself
Yeah.
and recognizing how you want to be loved. How did you get to that point to where you mentioned in earlier recognizing those red flags, but nobody talks about the green flags that are out there, the things that you do want
Yeah.
in a relationship? Did you have to go through the fire to find it, or did you just not see it prior to?
I definitely felt for me, and I think it's because I'm a hardhead, I had to go through the fire, right, to see it, right? Because I'm that type of person, unless I've experienced it, I ain't going to hear from nobody,
Hey,
right? That's just me. I've been like that since a kid. I have to test it first, right? And so I think God was like, okay, we're going to show you something now, girl. You going to go through it, and then you can learn. And for me, I realized, and I think, a lot of women can relate to this. You get to a certain age, and you feel like, by 30, I want to meet my person. By
mm,
32, we're going to get married. By
yes.
35, we have kids. We're going to buy our first house. And there's this checklist. And you
Hmm.
don't check in with yourself to see, as you're checking off all of these checklist thing items, if you are actually happy. You know,
Wow.
and so for me, it was about checking in each day with myself daily of like, does this make me happy? And actually talking to my heart, right?
Mm,
And also, doing affirmations where I look in the mirror and be like, Trey, I love you and you are worthy of love. And also tracing that journey of how, as a child, you learned that certain things about you were unlovable, right?
mm,
Also to learn too, like when you gave away that whole responsibility of loving you to someone else. So one of the things I say in the book, right, in the epilogue, I talk about, let somebody show up in your life, catch you loving
ooh,
yourself, so they contribute to that love.
mm,
They are not the only love,
mm.
right? And for me, I was always searching for someone to love me, love me, love me, love me, so I
Yeah.
feel worthy, instead of going, wait a second, here I am loving myself, right? So I also joke now. I say to people, I'm single right now. So the next person who comes into my life, I was like, they better be doing a damn
Ready.
job of loving me, because I'm so full of
I'd
myself
be
right
great.
now, myself, right? And I'm okay being by myself. So I'm just like, if you're coming, it better be good, right? You better.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I
See,
ain't doing
I love that.
nonsense. I ain't doing this half nonsense, because I'm ready now, loving myself in a way. Like, when people say you look so much better, you look so happy, it's because I'm loving myself. I'm actively doing it,
Oh, see,
and
that is
intentional
beautiful.
about it. And intentional. And we gotta be intentional about it. Yeah.
Mm. It, this book definitely helps you with
Yeah.
that for sure. You had mentioned in the book that you created vision boards and you would take pictures of them and have them on your phone. The vision is always with you. I was
Yeah.
like, I need to do that. That is great. And starting your day with something positive. I
Yes.
have a close friend named Dr. Gilry, and she mentioned in her last little post that she had, she said she was going to change her alarm, and she asked everybody, change your alarm to a song that makes you smile. When you
Yeah.
wake up in the morning, it shouldn't be that or waking up to the news or waking up to
Yes.
something that just makes you go, oh, at the
Yeah.
start of the day. And that
Exactly.
was, you mentioned that too,
Yeah.
starting your
How do you
day
start
with
your day?
positive.
Yeah. And how you start your day. I'm a big believer. It's funny, I teach a mastermind group on Tuesday, and one of the lessons that we're doing right now is about how we start our day and how we keep our morning sacred, and what we allow in first thing in the morning, right?
Hmm.
So we start the group, and they've noticed a big difference in starting with an affirmation, listening to a positive motivational video in the morning, writing your journal. Me, I talk about it all the time, that I get up at 5:30 in the morning, and people always like, 5:30 in the morning. And I say I do this because my son usually gets up anywhere between 6:30 and 7:30. And once that little guy is up, okay, it's his morning. There's no me involved anywhere, right? And so
Wow.
I do that to root myself and ground myself and have that quietness. And that's the time where I have my coffee, I write my
Hmm.
journal, I
Hmm.
do my affirmations, because once that kid gets up, right,
It's
there's
over.
no me anymore. And I find that, and I meditate as well. And I find that makes me a better mother and I have a better day when I do my morning routine and I get up. And so for me, it's non-negotiable. 5:30 is my alarm. And I just get up automatically now because I
Mhm.
know it makes me a better person when I take that hour or sometimes 2 hours for myself in the morning and I keep it sacred. And that's what I say. Every woman needs to keep that time sacred for herself.
And I know especially as a new mom or as your kids kind of grow and turn into, I have teenagers, so they're
Yes.
like little mini adults. I don't know what day. One day they're fine, the next day I don't know them. But you
Yeah.
still have to have moments for yourself. And some of the things that you put in there, the affirmations in each of the end of the chapters are phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I definitely recommend for all of our viewers, if you buy a couple of books, because for me, I kept wanting to like cut out the affirmations and stick them on something. I was like, oh, I don't want to cut up the book because I love book, but I wanted to write all over the books. Buy a couple of books. So
Yes.
you have one you can work through and one you can keep,
Yes.
because
Yes.
it's just, I know we're almost out of time. Oh,
Yes.
goodness.
Did we have
Well,
any questions? I wasn't sure. Did we have any?
we have a lot of good comments, no questions.
Okay. What were the comments? I can't see the comments. I don't know why.
We got the gangster granny.
Oh,
Love your transparency. Love the
oh,
examples that you use throughout your book.
oh, thank you. Thank you.
A
And thank you
lot
for
of good.
everyone who is buying the book, spreading the word. And one thing I do want to encourage readers to do, which is so essential, and we sometimes as the Black community don't know this, and I didn't know this until I published my book. Please go to Amazon or Audible Book after you finish reading the book and write a review. It's so
Yes.
important because the more reviews the book gets, it kind of bumps it up the list and Amazon starts recommending it to people, right?
Mm.
And so it's essential. Please write reviews. And then the other thing I say to people, there was one reader who read the book, and what I loved what she did after she finished reading the book, she tagged about 20 other Black women on her Facebook posts and Instagram, and she was like, "You need to get this book." I
Love
totally.
it.
And so if you can do that, it really helps as me, as a first time author, published author doing this. It really is essential to spread the word because
Hmm.
only word of mouth that just keeps this book going. Right. And I truly do appreciate it. And one of the things Barnes and Nobles told me, they said this is the first time they've seen a book where women are coming in and buying the book, but they're not only buying one copy, they're buying two or three or four. And they're like, oh, I'm
Because you
getting,
have to.
yeah. They're like, I'm getting
You
my
have to.
grandmother. And so I love that. So I really, truly thank you guys for just really spreading the word and also for you for
Oh,
giving me this platform to talk about it. And it's so obvious that you love this book and you've read
I
it and
do.
just
I do. I really do. I have
thank
my
you.
little things I need to work on.
Girl, we're all working on it. We are all
I
I
got
always
my
say,
notes.
yes. I always say to my clients, and as I mentioned in the book, I say it's loving yourself. There's no final destination. You don't get there and kind of go, okay, well, I'm chilled now, right? It's an ongoing process,
Yeah,
right? And some days you're better at it, other days you're not so good. But it's just that you're intentional about getting better each time,
I
And
like that.
so you have to remember that it takes work and it's a daily thing, a daily reminder. And there's some days I'm really great at it, and then there's other days I'm like, oh dear God, girl, you are falling apart, right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
so even the quote unquote experts, some of us are not doing it all of the time. But I say to women, I'm really trying my best to have more good days than bad. And
There
that's,
we go.
yeah, yeah.
Well, we have a question that just popped in from Miss Polly. When can we expect a sequel, part two? Oh,
Oh, dear.
tell me. Now, I've
Polly,
already put my little
Polly.
bits out there.
Oh my God. So many people have been asking me for part two. And listen, let me tell you, I didn't even think I could do part one. Right? I was shocked. I was like, oh, damn, I wrote a book. So I am definitely working on it. I'm going to try. I have so many ideas and I really want to do, but right now it's just been so busy. and such a busy time for me. And like I said, I'm a new mom and now I have a toddler running around. It was
Yeah.
easier when I was writing the book and he was in my arms. Now this kid is crazy. Like he's just
That's a
running.
book by itself.
Yeah. So I think maybe I'll write a book called How to Get Over Your Toddler and Live Your Life, how to survive them.
Yes, surviving those few years, there is another tunnel too.
Yeah, but I do thank you for asking that question, Polly. But yes, I definitely am working on a part. I'm thinking of it. I haven't started writing it, but I know people have been saying they really want to see a part two. Yeah.
Well, when part two comes out, you are welcome back to Book
Thank you so
Mecca's
much.
Breakthrough Series.
I appreciate
Anytime
it.
you
I
got some good
appreciate it.
stuff, let us know for
Thank
sure.
you. I truly appreciate it. I do appreciate that.
Well, I definitely want to thank you again for coming on and sharing your time with me, especially during the pandemic. This has been so much fun just interviewing people, just having a glimpse into your lives and seeing how your motivation and inspiration behind the book. It's beautiful to watch it all develop.
Thank
So thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much. And guys, please, any of you who haven't followed me, I'm under Black Girl in Love on Instagram. And the book is sold anywhere books are sold right now. You can pick it up. And my website is treyanthony.com, especially if you want to work with me around life coaching, lifestyle. I'm there. So, yes, I'd
All
love to.
right.
And thank
Great.
you so much for having me. I
Thank
really,
you.
truly
Thank
appreciate you.
you.
And thank
Oh,
you to
thank
everyone who's watching. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, as for everyone who follows Bookmaker Breakthrough Series, I always like to end with a quote, but this time I wanted to end with an affirmation from her book that I loved, and it's two of them. The first one, all unhealthy dynamics within my family will end with me. Breaking those generational curses and
Mhm.
healing and passing that on to our children. I love that. And the second one, I show up to my life fully healed, loved, and healthy. And I think that encompassed everything in
Yes,
this book.
yes, girl.
Everything.
Yes, yes.
So
I love it. I love it.
thank you again. This has been Black Girl Magic. I love it. All of it for sure. And for anyone who wants to follow Bookmaker, if you didn't catch the live version, you catch the replay on
Yeah.
YouTube, Facebook, we're everywhere. Follow us. And thank you again. You have a wonderful night, Trey.
Thank you. Same to you, my love. Thank you ever so much.
Bye,
Bless
guys.
you. Bye.